If you had been in his life more than 5 minutes, you would know not to ask me personal questions. You would also know not to trust a fucking word I say. Look around. Who do you think I am? What do you think I do? I am your enemy. But I will give you a bit of advice. And you can decide for yourself whether you want to heed that advice or stay stupid. Watch your back. You got bigger problems than me and my compatriots.
Welcome to Cafe Giza. I run this cafe, the Giza. Yes, I know the name. But even here, in the middle of nowhere, we have tourists. And tourists will always flock to the familiar. I know something about marketing, you see, from my previous life. A life I was forced to abandon. But I won't bother you with such things. Have enough worries out there already. Just know that if you need anything, I wish to be of assistance. I can't do much. I can make good cakes and tea, and I can make pretty clothes. Or at least dress, I mean it. If you need something repaired... What am I saying? I'm sure you have many clothes already. I was not born in al-Merayah, but it is my home now. I love it. Not for all the people. There have always been bad people here. Those who have worshipped older gods. But for the good people, and there are plenty of them. Sadly, many have vanished. The cultists, those who worship Aten, they are doing evil things. Making slaves of our people. Killing them. Now, we are trapped here, and we do not know who to trust. There are enemies on every corner, behind every door, and they look and talk just like us. I cannot even trust my neighbors and customers. Of course, I trust my friends still, because otherwise, what else is there? But even friends can be turned. This is a dark time for our town. I pray for brighter days. Al-Merayah has never been innocent. I have seen evil here, long before the skies and ground opened up, long before the earthquakes and the thunder. From what I have heard and read, the town was home to Tanis since thousands of years. This was their exile and refuge, where they continue to worship the old god and the black pharaoh. For those who live here, they have chosen to ignore it. No one would accuse their neighbors of being sorcerers and heretics, but behind closed doors, the ancient rituals continued. Now it is in the open. They are no longer afraid. Outside, there is great evil. But inside the town walls, there is even greater evil. No one will speak his name. But I know who leads them, the Tanis, the cultists. I know who is instrumental in making mindless slaves of our friends and neighbors. His name is Abdel Daoud. I have always believed there is a veil over the world, hiding the truth about everything. Now the veil is lifted, it all seems so normal. Does that make sense? True. There are demons walking among us. The souls of the dead have risen. Our tortured ancestors are amassing on our town. And yet, it feels almost expected. Maybe we have become, how do you say, immune. Immune to it all. From the films and computer games and cartoons. We have seen it all already, and reality is no different from the screen. Only more personal. Or maybe I have always lived in the shadow of pain and death. And this is no different. Only now, the demons are not disguised as humans. We are counting on you.
Hello. I come from San Basilio de Palenque, in Colombia, and that is a kind of a secret world in itself. Going home feels almost like traveling in time. It's a beautiful thought. My grandmother, bless her soul, was an adept in the old earth magics, in witchcraft. I've seen firsthand what magic can do in the right hands, and in the wrong hands. This is why I joined the Council of Venice. I believe we need an agency to govern and regulate these forces. Forces so great, I'm certain we haven't even begun to understand them yet. This place, al-Merayah, it's a viper's nest. I'm no stranger to vipers, but these are more venomous than most. I don't feel safe here. The Maria are trying to root out the snakes, but despite their courage and conviction, they are few, and the cultists are like grains of sand in the desert. The villagers, well, they're either too scared to do anything, or they too worship Aten. Like I said, it's a nest of vipers. You stick your hand in, you might get bit. Your help is desperately needed, but be careful out there. Watch your back. You can never know who to trust. When I look at you, the first thing I see is potential. Unlimited potential for improvement. I'm not talking about you specifically, so much as the colors you serve under. Why is it that you need to fight over absolutely everything? You're not that different, you know. I've worked with agents from all the factions. Potato, potato. In the end, it's all the same. You just need to find a way to work together. United against darkness. Remember? What a lot of people don't realize is that the Council of Venice was never something that was imposed upon the factions. In fact, the Council was created by the factions to promote cooperation and temper the conflicts, to keep the secret world secret, to prevent all-out war, and to bring some order to the anarchy. But it seems we have forgotten the lessons of the past. If we don't get our act back together, I fear we're heading for another Armageddon. And fast. I complain a lot about the Council, and not always in a constructive way. But at the end of the day, I do believe in it, and what it's trying to do. I believe with all my heart that the Council is needed, and that it is possibly our only hope for the future. For a future. That's why it's so frustrating when we get mired down in pointless rhetoric and conflict, again, and again, and again. Being part of the secret world is an obligation as much as it is a privilege. I know. You see all the bright lights and the parties, the fireworks and the power. But I don't believe we should be doing any of this for ourselves. We should be doing it for them. For all those who have no clue about how the world really works, about what goes on below the surface. It's on us to make sure there is a world for their children to grow up in, free from harm, from darkness. So think about that the next time you receive your orders. The next time they ask you to dance to their tune. Ask yourself, why are you a part of this? Who are you doing it for? Hasta luego.
I was not a child soldier, sleeping beside a rifle instead of a doll. It is only in recent years that the Atanists have become an open threat. After that, we all had to learn to shoot very quickly. I had a gift for it, and a voice that was heard, so here I am. In my life, we have made more travels than most can recall. I remembered everyone. I grew into a woman across the Western Desert, and its dunes and oases are my home. We go into the cities only when we must, in places where the old religions are weak. So are the Atanist snakes. It is good, and my heart feels pride to see a new Egypt rising in these towers and minarets. Cities are no place for the Marriott. Too closed in, how do you say? Claustrophobic. There will always be a daughter of the desert. The sand meets the sky, and our past meets our future. In the old stories, Maria descended on the enemy and his deceased cult like a violent storm. Professional soldiers and paupers standing shoulder to shoulder. The new kingdom has never seen such a movement. This was so long ago, and the blood we had spilled dried in the sand and carried away. Then the Maria were 1,000 men, then hundreds, then 100. Outnumbered by the Atanists. But unlike those dogs, we cannot force the people to believe in our struggle. Stripping them of their will would go against all we hold valuable, against the name of the Maria. If this trouble was to spread as far inland as the Nile, then I think we would have no shortage of volunteers. But by then it would be too late. Before your people had writing, this land put temples standing to this day. Before you could farm, this land had raised vast armies. When your people trembled at the sight of the moon or fire, this land bowed before beast-headed gods. I took in all these stories with my mother's milk. They weigh heavy as stone, as if the Sphinx had pressed me under its footpaw. The Maria took up the burden of memory so Egypt can't forget. When walls are uncovered in the deep sands, they should never know what those walls guarded against. We erase the enemy's one true name as punishment for the crimes of the Atanists. If we succeed here, Aten can be forgotten again. The Nameless One and his nameless city deserves no place in my Egypt's history. You are a stranger behind the veil of Egypt. but I know about the world you come from. The three great orders of red, green, and blue. The wars and treacheries. Stories carry well on the world. And with drink and the heat, Oxford University men are very talkative. Your people do not have a good reputation here, not since the Romans. The trade princes of Cairo, they say you are common to robbers. They say this after they have taken your money and sold off our history. When the earth opened up to bring you here, though, I suspected it was a good omen. The honeybees had left al-Merayah for many months. Now they have come back. I hope their timing is not flawed.
You wish to know more about me? It's been so long that I can barely remember my own story. I have wandered the deserts of this land and others for many thousands of years. Am I immortal? Truly, I do not know. I haven't had the courage to test the hypothesis. Of course, the fact that I still stand, albeit with some difficulties, points to yes. Some have written of me, and some of what is written might even be correct. I wouldn't know, I haven't checked. All you need to know is that I'm still here because there's still evil here. And until evil has been vanquished, I do not intend to give up neither life nor breath. I am, as you may have surmised, a stubborn old bastard. I've witnessed Egypt change, from an empire of untold power and fabulous riches into a nation descending into chaos. But through it all, it is Egypt's people that have brought this land back from the brink, from succumbing to greater evil, and from losing its way. Even here, it is only through the resistance of those who oppose the cult of Aten that there's still time to save Egypt and the world. This was my first home, and it shall be my last, God willing. Perhaps I was stupid to believe that the good in this valley had conquered the evil, that the cult of Aten would not rise again, and that the sentinels inside the city of the sun god could sleep in peace. It is a blessed thing that the Maria were not so trusting. They did not lay down their arms, or stop teaching their children the tenets that we wrote down so long ago. And when this calamity befell Egypt once again, they were already here, ready and waiting. Without them, it would have already been over. Evil would have won, and the Aten itself might well have risen. The Maria bought us all time, though the tides of battle shift even now. The city of the sun god is opened up, and the sentinels within are our last defense against the rebirth of the Black Pharaoh and the dawn of the sun god. I've grown weary of the world. I believe I have seen all things, both good and evil. And while I still have faith in good, in the face of this rising evil, I can no longer be the one to stand up and do battle. This is not the first time these armies have been raised up, on both sides, and it may well be the last. There is a change in the air. This time it's different. My heart goes out to you, caught up in these end of days. But I will have to sit this one out and trust that I have already played my part. I was a member of the first of the secret societies, but our ties were severed long ago. The organizations you people are a part of are pale shadows of that first cabal, and your ethics questionable. Your masters are no longer working to protect humankind from the evils of this world, but rather to protect their dark secrets from humankind. To be more than in the shadows. To be one with the shadows. I'm not saying you and yours are evil, but you cannot claim to be good, to do good, unless you make sacrifices that your leaders are unwilling to make, that you would be unwilling to make, faced with the choice. I'm no longer part of that world because I failed, but at least I didn't fail to be compassionate. My weakness was that I cared too much, and that made me blind to our cause.